Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about getting complacent. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, why is it that so many programmers, even though they depend on their skill, allow them to rot or to allow themselves to get complacent so that they don't have as sharp as skills that they should have? This is a good question, and the simple answer is that there is more to life than software development, my friend. That is the simple answer. So there is usually a lifespan to a developer's life when they progress through their career. So on the one path, there is usually two forks in the road, and you will go down one of these paths in general. So on the one side, you have the programmer's path, the expert's path, where you stay pretty much up until, well, the day you don't actually need to work anymore or that you don't want to work anymore. You stay on the coder's side or the programmer's path. And that pretty much means that you spend most of your life writing software. That's one path that you can go on. And the other path ends with a management position, usually something like a project manager, tech lead, a architect, or something like that. These are the paths where you trade in your keyboard for presentations and flow charts and stuff of this nature in order to sell an idea or to set some type of architecture or joint goal for a company at large. You're affecting more people, if you will. Now, salary-wise, there's definitely a difference within these two. Like, depending on where you go, you're going to have an earning capacity of different things, but it's also, of course, more challenging. I mean, you may be at more risk by going in a management position if you want to find another job than you are if you're going to go into coding. But you may think that the complacency only exists on the management path. This is not true. It is equally likely that you will get complacent on the coder's side of things. Why? Well, it's very simple. Because at some point you are going to get tired. Yes. You're going to get tired, or at the very least you're going to mature to such a point where you are no longer interested, or you might not feel the need to read up on every single new blog that someone posted about reactive programming or microservices or whatever we're going to have in 10 years. And it's simply not relevant to your work process, because at the earlier stages of your career, you're more likely to be in this kind of honeymoon period where, everything is super interesting and you're kind of just learning this thing and you want to learn all the things and you want to look at how people do things, and you just consume and consume and you consume. But over time, you will learn more and more and more, and less of the content that you find on the internet or wherever you're finding your content is going to be relevant to your personal development. And when that happens, the main reason for you to continue developing is pretty much, the main way at least, is through work. Work is the thing that is going to develop you the most. You know that I've said so in a few videos and to a few people who have been reaching out over email and stuff like that. If you want to verify this, I will tell you right now, nothing you do in your private time. This is why a hobbyist programmer will unlikely ever become better than a professional programmer. By facing the challenges that you face at your place of work, like these sorts of things, those are the things that are going to really make the difference in your personal development. So if we think about that basically means that whatever role you fulfill within your company, whatever it is that you do on a daily basis, is going to be the main contributor to your personal development. At that point when you don't actually feel the need anymore to keep a track of every single technology, because trust me guys, you're gonna get to this point as well. If you're not already there, you will not feel a need to learn every single piece of technology out there. You will get to a point where some stuff feels kind of like weird or unnecessary or unuseful, not that useful, right? And some stuff is going to feel useful, and you're going to invest in that. You're going to be emotionally invested, right? So when this happens, then the complacency has already happened. And this is the false pretense of this question, rather, the assumption of this question is that your value as a software engineer is directly tied into how sharp your skills are. This is true to a point, but it's also only true if you get to a point where the skills that you have become irrelevant in some fashion. And that can happen if you specialize extremely hard in some very specific type of workflow. If you do some sort of work, or you work with some specific type of language and you get to a certain age, and or it doesn't have to be an age, but usually this sort of thing can happen when you are too niched, because the act of programming, or the art of programming, whichever you prefer, is fairly universal. As long as you have sharp coding skills, and you can, which you will maintain pretty much as long as you do real professional grade software development at your place of work, and you have an openness to learning new languages or an ability to adopt new languages, then it doesn't really matter. Then you're always going to have fairly relevant skills in some fashion. Then other issues may arise, but these skills are going to stay fairly sharp. You may not have this, you may not feel that you have these sorts of skills, and quite a lot of the industry will not agree with you, even if you claim that you have these skills, if something very revolutionary comes along. An example would be that if you were a web designer, a web developer working mostly in JavaScript or jQuery or something like that 10 years ago, well, today most of the industry is using SPA frameworks such as React, Vue, Angular, Aurelia, etc., right? That's a revolutionary change, a disruptive change, as the entrepreneurs likes to call it, that is so fundamental that it actually does make you sort of, not completely, but sort of irrelevant if you don't understand this. So what I want you to take away from this is that the reason why programmers let some of their skills rot is because they get old, they get experienced, they tire of this constant rat race of trying to play catch up to every new trend. Because the reality of IT is that for every 100 trends that you see coming around, maybe a few of them actually becomes truly disruptive to your workflow, such as SPA frameworks it is a fairly good example of this. Microservices, maybe, if some will claim, has this effect, but that's actually not true. Quite a lot of the industry does not actually use microservices. However, Docker and cloud solutions or cloud hosting is something that is on that level, where it is so common to leverage these sorts of technologies that if you don't understand them, you are already on the sphere of irrelevant in certain areas. Not always, but this is definitely a danger zone, if you will. So this thing is actually applicable to you regardless of if you become a manager or if you decide to stay as a coder for the rest of your career. It just so happens that you will develop different skills as on the management track, but you will rot your code skills quicker, if that makes sense. But you're not immune from this phenomenon just because you decide to stay in coding, because the thing that actually dictates how good you stay or how relevant your skills are going to stay has more to do with the tasks that you do within that role than anything else. So if you're working in a really niched, specialized way in some fashion, then odds are that you may become complacent without even realizing it, even if you're coding every single day. So you need to have that reevaluation process of yourself and have your fingers on some of the technology, your finger off the pulse of this industry, if you will, so that you at least know what everybody's kind of using and what you're doing, and make sure that you are in sort of sync with what the rest of the industry is doing. Have a great day.